So we just closed the books on 2024, and of course we're in the new year 2025, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk a little bit about what happened in 2024 and what to look forward to as far as our trading and investing in 2025. The most obvious thing we should focus on is what the overall stock market did in 2024. And when we say the overall stock market, typically we use S&P 500 as the benchmark. The S&P 500 finished the year with a 23% gain. Wow. That's a good year for the market. And if you were trading during 2024, if you did not also make a pretty good gain, something went horribly wrong somewhere in your trading. You had some bad event, some unfortunate event, or you were just trading the wrong things. Especially for those of you, I always tell you guys, go trade the good companies, because like the Mag 7 stocks were mainly responsible for that 23% gain in the S&P 500. Did you trade a lot of those stocks this year, or options on those stocks for those of us that trade options? Or were you trading mostly garbage companies, right? And were you trying to be that contrarian, trying to go find the most beaten down, beaten up companies to try to trade your options on? And, if you did that, chances are you didn't have as good a year as you could have, because you were trying to be a little bit too cute in your trading. And this is one of the reasons, guys, the good companies, they're typically the ones that drive the market higher. Those are the ones you typically want to be trading. I'm not saying just trade the Mag 7 stocks, but there's about 20, 30, 40 companies that really drive the market. The big companies that you all know, the names you all know, right? So don't get too cute trying to trade things that are really obscure, kind of penny stock, meme stock kind of companies. So the S&P had that 23% gain in 2024. What's odd about this is that the S&P 500 had a 24% gain the year before in 2023. So that is quite unusual to have 2 years back to back where you have 20% plus gains in each of those years. You do not see that very often. The last time that happened was in the late 1990s. And of course, that was during the dot-com boom, when the birth of the internet was really pushing the S&P and the NASDAQ higher. And of course, we eventually got the dot-com burst, the bubble burst, right? Now, are we heading toward that? Because you're going to see a lot of fear-mongering on financial content, just on the internet, on social media. We've had these 2 back-to-back fantastic years. Something bad must be right around the corner. Is that the case? Well, not necessarily. You really can't compare what's going on in 2023 and 2024 to what was happening during those dot-com years of the late 1990s, because a lot of those companies that were seeing crazy, massive gains weren't real companies. They didn't actually do anything. They were essentially shell corporations. They would just put .com in their name, and people would just go buy shares of their stock because everything that was a .com company, went up in value. That's not necessarily the case with what's going on in this market. Yes, we have the AI hype, but here's the thing. All these AI companies, for the most part, they're real companies like Microsoft, Google, Meta, right? These are trillion-dollar companies that are actually building stuff using AI. They're actually selling products, right? NVIDIA, obviously, is a perfect example, right? These companies are very legit companies, where a lot of the dot-com companies just weren't real companies. That bubble had to burst at some point. This is something very different. So I don't really see the market slowing down just yet. I think 2025 is going to be a positive year. Really, most financial analysts, if you go and search the internet, most of them actually expect 2025 to be a positive year. Not that that means anything. I warn you guys all the time, don't believe anything you hear from so-called financial analysts, financial experts, and media pundits. They don't know anything more than you and me. It's all guesswork. So their predictions really hold no value. My prediction really holds no value. Just because I think 2025 is going to be another positive year, that doesn't necessarily mean I know anything. It could be a down year. We'll just have to wait and see. One cool thing for those of us that trade options is 2024 saw record-breaking volume as far as options trading. More people traded more options in 2024 than any year to date. And that is actually the 5th year in a row that has happened. So every year for the last 5 years, we have seen options volume increasing, meaning more and more people are trading more and more options. Now, why is this the case? I think partly it's because the public is being more educated on what options trading is, the benefits of options trading. It's kind of becoming apparent. Anybody that does a little bit of research on options, especially trading options versus, for example, trading stocks, trading Forex, trading cryptocurrencies, things like that, you realize, oh yeah, options trading is probably where you want to be. It makes much more sense to actually, especially as an active trader, actively trading options rather than trying to day trade stocks, for example. I think the public becoming much more educated on options is the reason it's becoming much more popular. People aren't scared of options the way they used to be. Options used to be one of those things that, everybody feared because so many people were out there spreading all this FUD about it. Options are dangerous. Options are going to blow up your account. You're going to go bankrupt trading options. And now that people know that, a lot of that stuff is really not true, I think we're going to continue to see options volume grow in 2025. And in 2024, I think one of the biggest reasons options volume really saw a big increase is because of the rise of zero DTE options, especially the zero DTE options on SPX. Everybody is trading those things. And I don't trade zero DTE options because I don't think that's, for me, I think it's much better to do longer dated trades. I think you have much more of an edge the more time you have on a trade. You guys know I often say the shorter the time frame of a trade, the more randomness you're introducing into that trade. And for me, I don't like randomness in my trading, so I avoid zero DTE trading, but a lot of people love zero DTE trading, especially the speculative gambling type traders. They love those zero DTE options, all right, that they eat that stuff up. And I think we're going to see even more zero DTE offerings in the future, in 2025 possibly, because right now all we have are the major index products as well as SPY and the ES futures. You got some zero DTE on that kind of stuff, but are we ever going to get zero DTE on individual stocks? Because I think we very easily could do zero DTE options on some of the most heavily traded stocks. For example, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, like those three especially. Volume on those products is so good. So many people are trading options on those three companies. I would love to see zero DTE options available on Apple and Nvidia and Tesla. I think there is a real demand for that. Now, the reason we haven't had this happen just yet, and it may or may not happen in 2025, is because zero DTE options on individual companies does present some challenges. For example, obviously with a stock, you have to take shares. And with individual companies, if you have massive amounts of people selling these options and they get assigned shares on these companies, you have to worry about the number of outstanding shares on the company. There's a lot of logistics with this. Also, how are you going to handle earnings events? Do you really want people trading zero DT options on the day of Nvidia's earnings, for example? Like, there's some real, scary stuff. Like, we really have to think how to handle zero DTE on individual companies. But I think we'll eventually come up with solutions for some of these problems, and you're going to start seeing those zero DTE options on individual stocks very soon. Also, in 2024, it was announced that the stock exchanges, the major stock exchanges, the New York Stock Exchange in particular, was going to extend hours. So you're going to have more pre-market and extended hours trading for your stocks. I think that's great. I think we need to be able to trade stocks and stock options longer than just the 6.5 hours or whatever that the stock market is open, Monday through Friday. I think eventually the stock exchanges have to start trading like the futures exchanges. The futures trade 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week, and it works. It works just fine. There's no reason why we couldn't do the same for stocks and stock options. Now, I'm not predicting that that's going to happen in 2025. That's such a big change. I think what's going to happen is we're gradually going to get there. The exchanges are gradually going to extend the pre-market and extended hours trading. It'll eventually be overnight. Maybe you'll get the 24 hours of trading shares. Eventually, the options exchanges will get there as well, to where we can actually trade options in the middle of the night, right? If we want to, so as far as options on stocks, I think it'll be in increments. We may not get to that 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week thing in 2025. I think we're a few years away from that, but it's coming. Now, as far as in 2025, what stocks are going to perform well, I really think that the Mag 7 stocks have really driven the market in 2023 and 2024. It's been all about really 10 to 15 companies that have driven the ES and the NQ higher in 2023 and 2024. We're talking about the obvious ones: Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta, right? Just saw huge gains. It's really those very large companies that are driving this train. And I think in 2025, I think the market's going to have a positive year, but I think the big high-flying tech stocks like the Mag 7 stocks, I think they're going to see positive years, but they're not going to drive the market the way they have been. I think you're going to see that gap close a little bit. I think you're going to see the non-Mag 7 stocks actually play catch up a little bit. You know, they're going to perform better than they did in the last 2 years. I think the Mag 7 stocks will perform a little less so this next year. So you're not going to have such a big gap between those few stocks and the rest of the market. That gap, I think, again, is going to close a little bit. I also think in 2025, small caps are going to start outperforming a little bit. And the reason is we're going to see lower interest rates. Lower interest rates are good for small cap companies. So if you're playing the Russell 2000, if you're trading things like the RTY futures, or if you're holding shares of stock, if you're a passive investor especially, maybe start loading up on some shares of IWM. Have your shares of SPY and QQQ, but add some small cap exposure, because it would not shock me if small caps don't outperform the large cap stocks in 2025. So again, add some shares of IWM to that portfolio. Overall, 2024 was a fantastic year. Of course, the market was up. It's hard not to have a fantastic year when the market sees the kinds of gains that it saw in 2024. But even as active traders, just liquidity was good, options volume was good. It was just a really good year to be a trader. And I think 2025 is going to be possibly even better. We'll see. Take care, guys. Peace.